So I've recently been reading a series called Teenage Mercenary, and some of you out there, if you have read it in the past, might even know it for Mercenary Enrollment. And it is, if you have actually read the series, you can agree with me that the series is absolutely fantastic, action-packed, and just straight-up beautiful art all the way through it. It gets better and better as the chapters progress, but if there is one thing that is a real big sticking point, I think, to the series that really just can't get your hands off of it and you gotta keep reading, is the cliffhangers. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, when I was catching up with Teenage Mercenary and I was reading the chapters from chapter 1 to the current chapter that is chapter 67, I could not stop reading, because it's like, when you get to a point where you feel like you want to stop, you're like, okay, I've got to a point where I think I'm comfortable to stop, it leaves on a cliffhanger that makes you want more. You gotta sink your teeth in a little bit deeper into the story and keep going on even further, because it's just such an interesting ride, and you're wondering what's gonna happen to our characters as the story progresses. And with the latest stuff in, the current arc with, number 4 to number 6 and number 32 and all that, and finding out more about the camp and everything, it just, like, the story is getting really engaging. But, okay, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a few moments to talk about what Teenage Mercenary is about for those that have no idea what the series is and might be interested in even starting the series, because it wouldn't really take that long to catch up. 67 chapters in the grand scheme of things isn't really that much. It's very easy to catch up to. You could probably do it in a day if you really wanted to. So what is Teenage Mercenary about? Well, by the title, you could kind of give a few guesses of what it's about, but even by looking at the title, you still won't understand the full extent of what it really is until you actually sit down and read it, myself included. I didn't realize how good it would be until I really sat down and read it. So the beginnings of the story is about our main character, Ijin, that is a child soldier or a child mercenary, and just that overall plot point, right at the beginning, that is very dark. That is not a light-hearted beginning for a story, because when you think about just a child soldier, a child mercenary, that is dark. And the reason how this happened to this character was because at the age of 9 or 8, our main character got into a plane crash. We don't know the full extent of why everything happened. That is still very vague and kind of shrouded in mystery, and I feel like the arc we're currently in right now will dive more into those plot details, and I'm very excited. That's why I'm itching to kind of continue reading, and the cliffhangers have been so painful. But anyways, getting back on topic though, the beginning of the story shows that our character, he gets into a plane crash, and he loses his memories, from what we can see. And thanks to that, he is somehow taken by this organization called the camp, and he is basically turned into a child soldier. And he isn't the only one. There's a bunch of people that is a part of this organization that are child soldiers fighting alongside of him, just doing these very shady operations. You don't really know exactly why this is, what's really going on, what's the full purpose of this, but eventually, as time progresses, our main male character, he somehow gains his memories back, and he returns back home. That's what happens. He returns back home, and he gets to live with his family that thought he was dead for like over 10 years, which is just ridiculous to think about. And so it's a major shock for him as a character and his family, because you gotta imagine, as someone that is like a child soldier, you're going to have a lot of PTSD. You're going to have a lot of trauma. You're going to have a lot of things to deal with, because, the culture is just going to be instantly different. I mean, he's always been on the war front, fighting on the battlefield, blood, sweat, and tears, trying to survive and all that, not eating well, and all of a sudden he goes back home, and he's in a very peaceful time in South Korea, and he's living with his sister and his grandpa. It's a very different, environment that he is not used to. And so the overall beginning is interesting because our character is someone that obviously has a lot of problems, and he has not had a really good childhood. It was taken away from him, and you're wondering if he will be able to fit in to society. Will he be able to fit in school life? Will he be able to fit in and make friends, etc.? That is the questions you start to wonder about when you start the series, and it's a very engaging read. And like I said, when I started reading it, I could not put the series down, because it kept getting better and better as I kept reading it, because it's just that freaking good. And the only reason why I actually stopped reading is because I caught up with the series, which sucks because cliffhangers, cliffhangers are a good thing. It allows you to continue going and wanting to keep reading, but it sucks because you're waiting just for the new content to come out. But anyways, yeah, if you're interested in a story that's gritty, kind of dark, and has a lot of action, like, I'm being serious here, a lot of action, kind of like seeing literally a guy that's a child soldier beating the crap out of, let's say, gang members, to mobsters, to just like, you know, being an actual bodyguard in some areas, you will probably really enjoy this series. It's a legitimately good freaking read, and I cannot recommend it enough if you're really wanting to have something new to actually engage in and read. But with that out of the way, I want to talk about the latest content, because honestly, I've been itching to talk about it since I caught up, and so let's dive into that. If you've read the series, or if you're going to pause the video and then come back to this video after you catch up, then feel free to continue on. So the latest content of the story has been getting very interesting, because our main character, Ijin, has recently kind of made contact with individuals that know his past. Individuals that are on kind of the same level as skill sets when it comes to being a mercenary slash bodyguard or a soldier. For instance, number 6 to also number 32, and even number 4 that was recently reintroduced into the series. Not reintroduced, or just introduced into the story. We get to see these different individuals that have been shaped and molded by this shady organization, the camp, and that has really messed with their mind. We've already seen what's happened with, you know, Ijin as a character. He is someone that obviously can be very cold, and on a dime he could snap. His eyes go very cold, where he could just instantly get rid of a person and kill them if he wants. But then there's moments where he shows this happy, nice side to him, smiling at his sister, and it just shows how he can instantly snap at just anything if he needs to. And it shows just the scary level of training that he received at a young age. While you have characters like, you know, number 6, that's also in a very similar way, and how he was even able to try to hurt Ijin, the number 1, that they were kind of squad mates, to be able to follow orders for the camp. Or we got to see number 32 as well, being very skilled, maybe not to the same level as number 6 or number 1, which is Ijin or MC, but seeing, you know, just the different skill sets show that they're on a very higher playing field than what we've seen from previous fights and characters throughout the story. And we're finally getting a lot of mysteries kind of unveiled, and a lot more mysteries are appearing, because it makes you wonder, what is the whole purpose of this? Why are they numbered? But on top of that, who are these individuals that aren't numbered? And, you know, why is there jealousy amongst the ranks? What's going on here? And the only thing that I could kind of assume about the whole ordeal with the number situation is most likely because the higher number you are, the lower number you are. You know, correction, for instance, if you're number 1, you're the strongest. And Ijin, obviously being the number 1, he was the strongest, and that would mean that he was the highest of the pecking order. But the question is why do they do this? Why do they want this type of numbering? Is it to cause competition within the camp? Is it to cause people to have infighting within the camp? Or is it to inspire them to continue moving up? And what is the true reason to be number 1? Do you get extra privileges that nobody normally would? And also another thing as well, how is this organization able to get away with these type of operations without kind of being completely destroyed and gotten rid of, or even noticed by governments, etc., because it's obviously kidnapping children and turning them into soldiers? That is the big question you have gathered throughout the reading of the series, and especially in the latest arc. But we have some lighthearted stuff going on. Ijin is potentially going to be getting a girlfriend. We get to see this new character that was introduced in, like, the latest arc, that is someone that is, like an idol. She's someone that's an actress, someone that, you know, is just making it big in showbiz, etc. And Ijin took a bodyguard job to be able to protect her and make sure she's a-okay. He was just doing his job, basically. And as he did his job, it's clear that she started to gain a little bit of feelings for him, especially in the latest chapters of the cliffhangers. And with the feelings that she is obviously gained for him, it makes me wonder if he will potentially go out with her. Because if there is one thing that this series definitely has been lacking, but has kind of tried to skirt around and have a little bit of, is romance. And there is a lot of webtoons out there with romance thrown into the story, and it could be a good or a bad thing depending on how it's done by individual writers, but for the most part it's usually a good thing. And one thing that I noticed that Teenage Mercenary does not have is a side of romance. But once again, there has been elements of it, but not too much, like to a high degree. And when I see Ijin as a character, there is one thing that I think he's missing to really push his character and give him a lot of development, is a love interest. You're someone that loves him and he loves to the point where he wants to have a family with. I feel something like that is definitely something he needs. And I feel like this, this actress that he has recently met and he's been talking with and enjoying his time with, basically, they're probably going to start going out eventually. And I feel like there's going to lead to situations where she's going to wonder what's going on with his life, why is he getting injured to such a degree, what's going on with this supposed camp, what happened in his past, because Ijin doesn't obviously talk about his past. He doesn't talk about him being a child soldier. Not even his own family knows about that. They could kind of know that something is up with his past, but they don't have any indication that he legitimately was a child soldier whatsoever. So when you think about the whole circumstances of, this new love interest character that's obviously been introduced, I'm excited. I hope that he gets with her, and we get to see some progression on that route, because it would add a little bit more dynamic than him just, let's say, protecting his sister, or protecting his grandpa. It would add to where he's having to try to protect someone that he loves, and even settle down and try to make a family. I think that would be great, because one of the things about his character is trying to realize what it means to have a family. He doesn't understand the true meaning of it because he really never had it growing up, and so he's trying to understand those feelings, what love means, what, family means, etc., and I appreciate that. It's a very human outlook, honestly, for his character, because he has these moments to where he doesn't feel human. He feels like a machine, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because, he was raised from a very early age to be a soldier, but then he has moments where he could show this happy side to him, and obviously the latest arc has been trying to do that, humanize his character quite a bit, and I think it's a great direction that the story is obviously currently taking. So yeah, Teenage Mercenary. I've been really enjoying this series. If you're someone that is up to date with it, then I think you agree with me. It's fun. There's a lot of action, it's great art, and it's definitely something that keeps me pumped every time I sit down and read it. And I can't wait for Chapter 68 to come out. Honestly, I might actually just use some coins and read ahead, because I've legit been enjoying the series so much, I might not be able to stop myself. I might have to spend some of the coins I get to, actually reads that series. But, yeah, anyways, if you guys are interested in reading Teenage Mercenary, link is down in the description. Check it out for yourself, and also, once again, if you are someone that's kind of dropped off this series and been wondering if you should catch back up, you should. You definitely should. It's definitely one of those series I'd say you should get back onto if you have fallen off the series and been wondering if the story is progressing whatsoever, because it definitely is. There is a lot going on currently within the story. But okay, I guess I'll leave it at that, though. Once again, if you're interested in the series, link is in the description. It will help me out a lot if you use the link. I would greatly appreciate it as well. But with that, be safe, stay healthy, everybody. Chibi out.